Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me and thank you for your continued support. Right, so I've talked about this subject a couple of times before, but there's a little bit more detail coming out now which I thought I would let you guys know about. Now, first of all, this fraud bill which the government want to get through is currently in the House of Lords being debated, so it's probably going to be going through, I would say, within the next few months if things go well. And there's been some more information, shall we say, talked about in terms of what's going to be happening to these bank checks and exactly what kind of information the banks are going to be giving the DWP, and roughly they've also given a figure of roughly how many checks they're going to be doing every year. So I'm going to show you the article which talks about this, and then as always I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. But before we look at the article, please do consider subscribing for more content like this about DWP and benefits and things like this. It really does help to push the channel forward as well, so thank you very much for doing that. Let's take a look at the article. Okay, so DWP Minister gives update on bank spying plans which will hit millions. More details have been given on the Department for Work and Pensions planned spying bill ahead of its laws coming into effect later this year. Labour's new fraud, error and debt bill is currently making its way through Parliament. It forms a central part of DWP's plans to crack down on benefit fraud, with new powers for the department to request information from claimants' bank accounts. Currently being debated in the House of Lords, more details on how these powers will work have been revealed by Baroness Maud Sherlock, the Minister of State for DWP. The key power that will enable DWP to request banks to share financial information with its agents is called the Eligibility Verification Measure. It means that when a new eligibility verification notice is sent to the bank or financial institution, it must comply with the request. Baroness Sherlock outlines that the information in the information institution can be asked to share, including information about the account holder, including their name, date of birth. Agents can also ask for the bank account sort code and account number, as well as details about how the account meets eligibility. Now that's the interesting part here, how the account meets eligibility. It's a bit of a vague term in terms of how it reaches eligibility, and I think this could be just a rewording of actually looking into your bank accounts. That's to say, the government is introducing these powers to be able to determine if an individual is eligible for a benefit they are claiming or have applied for based on their financial position. For example, holding over $16,000 in savings generally will render someone ineligible for universal credit, except in certain limited circumstances. The measures will be implemented over 12 months in a phased approach, working with a smaller number of banks initially, the Baroness Sherlock added. The Lords Peer also addressed controversial new plans the DWP will be gaining to directly deduct money from an individual's earnings or bank accounts using a direct deduction order. Based on its usage by HMRC and the Child Maintenance Service, both of which already can use this power, Baroness Sherlock says DWP estimates it will make between 5,000 and 20,000 direct deduction orders every year. The new powers have been introduced as part of a raft of measures Labour say will form the biggest fraud crackdown in a generation. The party adds that combined the plans will save £1.5 billion over the next 5 years. A DWP spokesman said our fraud, error and recovery bill includes an eligibility verification measure which will require banks to share limited data on claimants who may wrongly be receiving benefits, such as those on universal credit with savings over $16,000. As well as tackling fraud, the new powers will also help us find genuine claim errors sooner, stopping people building up unmanageable debt. This measure does not give DWP access to any benefit claimants' bank accounts. Now, of course, the DWP has been able to look at bank accounts for a little while now. They can request bank statements and things like that. However, it's going to be interesting to see how often they check bank accounts, because if it's just done at the beginning when an application is put in, then that's not necessarily such a bad thing, because obviously it would just be the same as submitting your bank statements. However, It doesn't necessarily say whether A, you'll be told about this in advance, or B, how often they're going to check this eligibility criteria. So, you know, they said they want to try and discover overpayments before they get too bad or things like this, which means they're going to need to check how much income you're getting from the DWP. Now, it depends, I guess, on how they're going to word it, but it looks like the banks are going to have to comply. They're not going to have the opportunity to say no. So it's looking very a little bit odd, shall we say, and these direct payment orders around 20,000 up to 20,000 a year. That's a figure which I think we should keep an eye on, because once this is rolled out and is actually going, it'll be interesting to get a freedom of information request after the first year to find out exactly how many they have done. But anyway, let me know down in the comment section what you think about this. Do you think that this is, this is fine, this is just like what they're doing currently with the bank statements, or do you think that they need a bit more details about how often they're going to check and what exactly they're going to be checking? Let me know down in the comment section what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts as always. Please do subscribe if you've got this far, and I'll see you next time.